All right, let's make some magic and move into our next topic, Magic the Gathering. They recently had an updated ban list come out this week, literally, yesterday? And I guess no news is good news because they didn't do shit. Let's take a look at it real quick here. The ban announcement, restriction announcement as of yesterday by Andrew and Dave here. And all formats, no changes in any of the formats is the big tagline here. No changes in all formats. I don't really have too much of an opinion other than from what we've talked about, Nick. You are our guy here. You are our expert. Let's fucking go.
Right,
okay?
so
what do you got to say about this?
Right? All right, so they have standard, right? Standard's like whatever. I don't like when they ban cards out of standard, just in general, because I think that just means that they don't know how to make sets and cards.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It just means like...
Standard is the last 3 sets, or what? How much is the time frame on that?
So it's 3 years now. It's 3 years of sets. The last 3 years of sets. They're doing like an early rotation next month. But things gets cookie cutter like pretty quickly. But I really think that there's like a couple problems there. They just they don't make supplemental sets anymore for standard. They used to, but now it's just only standard sets, no core sets. People hated the core sets. People love the core sets. You could find one of each group. It doesn't really matter. But they're just looking at a couple cards. It's not too crazy.
I hear
the format's not too broken.
It makes a lot of sense too that why would they really do bans and restrictions on cards like this? Because they literally just made them. So if they did that, they're acknowledging how bad they fucked up, which is not a great look. So I can see why they really wouldn't touch standard that much. Then, let's move into Pioneer. Any thoughts on Pioneer?
Yeah, Pioneer, Amalia needs to go, but they're not going to ban Amalia till next week. And they actually reference her in the thing.
Yeah,
right?
Literally right
One
here.
thing we're doing, keep a close eye on Amalia. Shut up. That is words that needs to be banned. That's a shut up. Just shut up. I don't care about your corporate nonsense. But the reason why it's not going to get banned is because basically the Pro Tour, right, the RCQ that I went to on Sunday, and everything like that, Pioneer's huge right now. The tournament, the qualifier tournaments that are going on right now are for the tournament in October. People are qualifying with Amalia decks. They're qualifying with Rakdos Vampires. Some people are getting early in the RCQ season. We'll say people were getting more Is It Phoenix, but Amalia has 14% of the deck share, right? Mm-hmm. Vampires has 21, and we I've already shown you as soon as you get too high on that, something needs to be done. But the reason why they're not going to ban Vampires for the most part is because the cards are just too expensive. It's $300, $400 more expensive than every other deck in the format for the most part that does well. So Amalia is a $300-$400 deck, and the other one's $7-8.
That kind of feels bad because then it kind of feels like a pay to win. But then it also feels like I have the cards. I should be
Magic is pay to win. In most formats, Magic is pay to win. But this one is a low cost one, and the Amalia combo for the most part basically makes extremely poor play patterns for a lot of people in the early game. This combo can go off on turn 3, and it can just win the game. And they can go up to 76 life or whatever the number is.
And you can see Amalia is ward pay 3 life. So if you have that much resource for life, you're going to be running the deck. So a really quick question. You mentioned that these people are playing these decks and qualifying for the competition in October or this fall. It's players that are qualifying, not the decks, right? They could
they play the deck,
use a different deck.
They could use a different deck, but Amalia decks are cheaper. They're relatively cheap. They're also pretty easy to pilot. No disrespect to people who play Amalia combo. There are some. Okay. You do get better the more you play a deck. Do not get me wrong, but the floor on this thing is it's pretty low. It's pretty easy to pick up, and basically everybody starts at 20 life. You know that, right? You've played it before. This thing infinitely grows until it's a 20, kills all other creatures, and then kills you. So basically it's really hard to deal with, and they can do it at the end of your turn. to go into their turn with an Amalia or the combo pieces. A lot of their decks synergizes together to provide this combo. And there's a situation that can occur, I think, like 2 different ways. But the one way that I want to talk about is basically she ticks up, right? It's like whenever you gain life, she explores, destroy all other creatures when you, right? So explore is reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on your creature and put it back or put it into your graveyard, right? And so the way that this works is you're going to explore and just go up to 20. You keep the card on top, and whenever you gain life. So, but if it gets to 19, right? So this combo is basically very like mechanical. It just happens like immediately.
Yeah. I was about to say,
so you
there's
explore
a lot of
once.
steps in this.
Yeah. So like you have a card that says whenever a creature explores, gain a life, or whenever a creature comes into play, you gain a life. Another card will say whenever you gain a life, explore. And so, and like it basically would just go back and forth off each other. If this card gets to 19, okay, or 18 or whatever, right? Like let's say it gets close to 20. We'll use 19 as an example. And you give this card a +2/+2, okay? It goes up to a 21, not a 20. So the check for power is exactly 20 never happens. And so the only way to stop this stupid computer of Magic cards, and it's just a stupid computer with a glitch in it at this point, is to concede your match. You need to concede as the Amalia player, or it becomes a draw.
Interesting.
Okay? And anytime that happens, alongside poor play patterns, as I've discussed multiple times in other formats, poor play patterns make the game not fun. Stupid shit that just happens and you can't stop regardless of interaction or something like that. Like, as in, this just continuously goes off and no one can stop it, man.
Yeah, so that makes sense why they're looking at this, and that's why it's been a pain in the ass in Pioneer currently. And you just had a taste of this when you went to the qualifiers.
Right? I didn't even have a taste for it. I already knew about this deck. Like this.
No, I know.
As soon as I found out.
Did you didn't play against this, or did you?
I did not play against it at all.
Okay.
But you know, like that's not even like. I don't mind it. I'm playing Phoenix. My deck interacts very well with the field, but even for me, if I tap out on turn 2 and you're going for turn 3 to drop your land, I die. Like that's literally how easy the deck is. You die on turn 3 if you tap out, and that is not a one step down from standard sentence. That is a legacy vintage sentence. Did you tap out on turn 1? You're dead. Oh, you tapped out on turn 2? You're dead. Like
I got you.
Okay. That is when me spending $3,000 like on a deck.
When you put it that way, it where standard on the scale of standard to legacy being all the cards from the last 30 years of Magic the Gathering at any price point, being able to do all the crazy busted things that you want to do. That makes sense versus standard being the last 3 years of sets, more of entry level kind of mechanics, basically whatever they're developing and making right now. So for Pioneer to be the next up, that seems a bit like heavy handed for the next. I don't want to say difficulty, but like the next tier level in that way. Hey, Billy here. Wanted to take a quick minute to let you know a few different things. If you enjoyed the video so far, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us out and it tells the algorithm to share it with more people. You can find the Esports Meta live every week on Twitch and YouTube. It's where we film the podcast or hang out, play games, and chat. If social media is more your vibe, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, or Twitter if you use Threads. Does anybody use Threads? This is a video game community that's excited to talk about esports, so jump into the conversation. Of course, you can find more videos like this here on YouTube. Just hit that subscribe button right there or there. Thanks for watching, and let's get back to the show. So moving into the 3rd tier level here, though, Modern. I want to just keep us moving. How are we looking at Modern? Any thoughts? Or
Nadu's busted.
They mentioned Nadu.
So they referenced Nadu because they pushed Nadu. Nadu, basically, there's a card called Orcish Bowmaster that has been in Modern, Legacy, Vintage, whatever. It's just not in the other formats. It's a, made in the Lord of the Rings set, and it's for 2 mana, and it says whenever an opponent draws a card, besides the first card that they draw on their draw step, you deal 1 damage to any target. And then you also make a 1/1, or you can put a 1/1 counter on an orc, right? This card specifically says, I just put shit in my hand, or I put it onto the field. And, like, it's busted with an interaction on a card called Shuko, and I can't remember the core soldier's knight, or like whatever his name is. Basically, there's a couple cards that will target your creature for free, and these cards have been around.
No.
And they've been around, and they've worked in Breakfast before, a deck called Cellophid Breakfast or Octopus Breakfast. And basically, the fact that they can actually, like, target this guy and interact with him proactively for zero mana whatsoever leads you to have crazy card advantage. This card is pretty busted, but it's only because they're not paying their taxes. Like I said this to you before, right? You're not paying any mana, you're not doing anything, you're not paying your taxes, and you're doing it proactively. It's literally like, I pay 0 mana and I do something, and your opponent goes like, all right, let me try to pay 0 mana and stop that thing, right? Like, that's the only response to it. Proactive free shit is broken in Magic. Every time. Every time. Proactive free shit is broken. And even if it's not, like, broken right now, it could be broken next month, next year, the week after, something like that.
Yeah. Or somebody figures something out. Like, it's Magic is all about that rules lawyering the stuff. It is resource management. I think you've said it. It feels to me like it's Excel spreadsheets, but in like little card forms where every little card has a different rule and you have to just fit them all together in this puzzle. Not knocking it. I don't have that skill. My brain isn't built for that sort of thing. But I know so many people who are and do. And when you put it that way, where it's like, okay, here's Nadu with a combo. What was it? Skorda? What was the name of the card?
Shuko, and then there's like a fortnite.
Yeah, you showed me Shuko yesterday, but it, like, immediately reading Nadu and Shuko, it just made sense to what you're saying. Nobody's paying their taxes when they're playing this card. You're getting free resources for nothing, and you get to do it first, basically, without any
and you get
sort
to do
of...
it twice per turn, per creature you have. And so if you put another creature into play, after getting the creature, you can do it again. And so, like, that's the part of the interaction that's broken. Nadu, the ability is relatively broken, but it wouldn't be so crazy if you had to pay, like, 1 mana. Like, it would still be pretty good. But eventually you have to tap out for mana. But again, if you're not using a resource and you're just pulling shit out of the ether, it's broken. It's always broken. You just pulled shit out of the ether, man. Like, you're a fucking magician. Like, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, you are a magician. You're a wizard in this game, but I hear what you're saying. You're a planeswalker.
No, it's like, planeswalkers are just, like, now characters in the game. I don't know what the overall lore is anymore for, like, the player character. But yeah, they just released Modern Horizons 3 about 2 weeks ago. It did change Modern pretty drastically, but again, this could just change this is people testing some stuff out, and they come back onto Grief Scam, because Grief Scam is super strong in Modern, because Grief is fucking busted. Yay! Is this the point where you want to say?
Is this the point where you want to say that you're right? That, I told you so.
I don't even tell people I told you so, dude, because it gets me mad. Like, it gets me more mad than my first, like, thing. Like, thanks for joining. Like, the
we were talking about this. Legacy, but we were talking about grief and, like, the problem with grief months ago at this point. But before the last ban restriction list came out, I think before the last 2. But anyway, if we go to Legacy, what do you want to say?
I hate them. So again, we have the same sentence of, we will continue to monitor the play rate and win rate of whatever. You could put a Valia here, you could put Reanimator here. We already knew it was busted. I literally went to, like, this is what I was saying multiple different times, right? I went to God, I can't remember the name of it now. The huge
Chicago?
Legacy tournament, Eternal Weekend. I went to Eternal Weekend for Legacy, right? And I'm a Grief player. I've literally been saying Grief is busted for 2.5 years. It creates disgusting patterns of play. It's not that it's, like, overpoweredly strong, But again, it's free proactive shit. Like you just yoink shit out of your opponent's hand for free. And people will be like, you got an exile card. And it's like, so glad you were able to use 3 cards to take 2 cards from me, and now you have a 3/2 body with menace. That's wonderful. That's so great, bro. Like it's just a toxic play pattern. So like I said it before, I'll say it again. And at least the guy who's at Wizards, who's paid to be the expert on the health of Legacy, because I'm sure I hope that there's a person for each one. There's a person for each thing trying to keep it healthy. That person even said Grief needs to be banned, and Wizards of the Coast was like, go fuck yourself. Like, so they didn't do it. They're not doing it now. They're probably going to do it in August, and if they don't do it in August, we're dealing with it until next year. Like, and I'm not even joking, because again, Eternal Weekend happens in December. So if you're not banning something in August, you're leaving people with what? If you did ban it in August, you at least give them 3-4 months of play and practice for their deck that doesn't have these cards, or cards that people are going to have to, like, you're going to have to change, right? But if they don't ban it, then, like, it's exactly the same going forward, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it. And you could say I was right, but I don't need to be.
You're goading me here. You're goading me into saying that you're right. I don't like saying it, but I'm going to say it here. You were right. You did send me a tweet that you were super mad about seeing this today, where it's specifically on Grief Reanimate. Let me switch us into that and get us a better view here. On Grief, Reanimate, and Legacy, not a fun play pattern to happen often. It was the most difficult decision with this ban and release restricted list, my bad, because there aren't any major tournaments and there is no room for people to experiment with MH3, the new set. We can package Eternal formats in August, Yeah. So it seems like that they're looking at banning it in August with the next ban and restriction, but the reasoning they're not is because there's no majors right now, and that there's room for people to try to figure it out, basically.
Yeah. What they just said was LGSs will suffer. People will stop going to LGSs, which
Local
they've
gaming
already done.
stores, yeah.
Yeah. So like, there's literally, I'm not even joking with you, there's literal LGSs that are out there posting about how they could not get people to come to their Legacy tournaments, okay, until they made a house rule, like as if it was Commander, and ban Grief. Like, it's the stupidest crap I've ever seen, man. And it gets me like real heated, because why don't we experiment without Grief? And then you can just and then you can put it back in and see if people want to play Grief again. Like, I like that's my opinion on it. Like,
it is tough, because I know it's tough. I know, but you're right. We've been talking about this, and it very much seems like Grief is the problem. I know from a developer standpoint that you do want to let players figure stuff out, but like this isn't it's only been out for the new set for like a couple weeks, a couple months, maybe a year. This has been happening for years now. So like,
yeah, the best answers for Grief, by the way, what they're hoping for is people to just stop playing Grief because another deck is so fucking busted. That's it. Like, that's what they're really hoping for, because any answer to Grief was already printed. Stifle, Veil of Summer, Force of Will. These are the only ones, okay? One of them 2-for-1s you. The other one you have to have gone first. The other one you have to have gone first. So you literally, like, the fucking answers exist. Unless you want to create a free mana, another free mana thing that says nope to Grief, then you're creating another free card. Like,
I was going to say, the answers exist and they don't work. Plain and simple.
They work if you go first.
They only work 50% of the time statistically, and most of the time you can coin flip into not going first. So many y'all. Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's frustrating. Like,
I definitely see why it's a frustrating thing, especially when you're with a game that's so meticulous like Magic, and then it's hurting. Especially when they get the information that it's hurting local gaming stores, local communities. I wonder how serious I wonder how serious they're going to take that competition. But those local gaming stores are literally the lifeblood that's kept Magic a popular thing, made it a cult classic if into a mainstay classic. It's I don't. You can earn.
The reason they don't care though. They really don't care. And I'll tell you right now the reason why they don't care.
I know. I hear you're saying you're not, but like the one last point I want to make on this is like you can literally earn points to go to the biggest tournament held by Wizards of the Coast and whatnot from a local gaming store, right?
Yeah, that's where the RCQ was.
If the ecosystem involves them there, where you can literally path to pro it from the bottom scale, bottom tier, all the way into the biggest tournament in the world, why are they not then including them and considering them for this stuff too? Like that seems such a spit in the face, and like maybe they are talking about in the back rooms and stuff, but they're not talking it out in public. And if those stats are real, if those stats are out there, like you're saying, where these local gaming stores are losing players, losing competitions, and have to create house rules to just make it happen. So what? Sorry, you were gonna say. I needed to finish that point.
So like LGS's, right? It's the lifeblood of TCGs just in general, board games for the most part, right?
Yes.
But like, here's the thing. At a certain point, right? Like, here's like, let's date ourselves, right? They used to have like Toys R Us, right? And then Toys R Us didn't exist, right? And so like LGS's and little like video game stores were the only places you could get like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, right? Stuff like that. Warlords, Blood for Blood, whatever you want to do. Shout out to people who know Warlords, but like for real. That game sucked. Like it was so crappy, but I played it. But here's what they did. They started to try to I say it's like a GameStop approach, right? They went after moms. And like it sounds weird to say it like that, but they went after moms. And the companies that go after moms, they specifically target you while you're going to do your after work errands or something like that, right? So it's areas that have like Targets and stuff and like little things
that's
like
what
that
I was,
that you have to do.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna say. That's where you see more of these cards, Pokemon cards, all Magic cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They're all in Walmarts and Targets now.
Yep, and so like also the secondary market also controls the main market, right? Pretty heavily for no reason. Like, give you an example. Modern Horizons 3 just came out. They have an MSRP product of a commander deck of $60. It's not $60. It is $140 for something that's normally $60 to $70. Okay.
So hold on. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? So basically, if I were to resell it to you, let's say it's valued at $120 or $160, but the store would be advised to sell it at $60, but they would be selling it at $100.
The stores no longer want to compete with the secondary market and will take your money as if they were selling stuff on the secondary market. They don't care about MSRP. So like they'll sell you a pack that they broke out of a box.
I mean, MSRP kind of doesn't matter because it's like imaginary. It's like a suggested retail price. That's literally what the value is. So like it's interesting that they're focusing on Magic and like other card games that have inflated values since quarantine, since COVID.
I mean, like there's some things that people who are like, I'll call them like boomers. Like I got a couple buddies who are like $5 or $6 for a Magic the Gathering pack. That's crazy. If you look at inflation, like when we were paying $3 a pack, right? We were paying $3 or $4 a pack for the thing. By inflation now, it's $5 or $6. Like literally from 2004,
that becomes a whole.
When they were $4, like you still get value on it, right? But when you talk about like the value of a box being $150 now instead of $100, but it also has less packs in it and each pack has less cards in it, that's where you can complain. But like you can't like.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you on that.
The old man in me is coming out.
I was about to say we're starting to yell at clouds here, dude. We're starting to yell at clouds.
That whole grief thing gets me so fucking heated.
All right. So But we've been, I know you've been screaming this on the top of your lungs since at least January. To me, we've been saying it on the podcast since February. But yeah, speaking of grief, back into like vintage here. Any other final notes between legacy, vintage, and then alchemy?
Those made up ones. Everything after that is all made up stuff. Alchemy's nonsense. People play alchemy. I don't know how many people play alchemy, but alchemy has made up cards.
Okay.
These are digital cards that do not exist in the real world. They are not cards that you should actually try to soak up into your brain and learn, because they're fucking fake. And if you actually play Magic, you're gonna be like that card, I should get this. Oh, that card doesn't exist. It's not real. It's not a real card. Now
you're harping a lot on alchemy, man. What else have we got?
So the other thing, like historic is these are specifically only on Arena.
Okay, so all digital.
They're not. These ones have real cards, but they're not proper formats. So like historic, I think is supposed to be modern, but it doesn't have all the cards from modern or something like that. I'm not sure about historic, but Explorer, for instance, is supposed to be Pioneer. That's the way that it was supposed to be in the beginning. Because Explorer format was going to be Pioneer, but on Magic the Gathering Arena. They decided to go against that. Everybody complained. And basically now, by the end of summer,
sorry, now by the end of summer, a little bit of weird click.
We're going to get packs on Arena that are specifically Pioneer packs that will not give out, but like you'll be able to get the cards
Pokemon style
necessary in pile. Yeah, like
physical comes with a digital version. Cool.
No. This is going to be all digital. Of course, they're stealing your money. They're not giving you anything like that. This is WotC, bro. This is WotC. They take that money, bro. Daddy Hasbro needs that. Daddy Hazzy, bro. Daddy Hazzy.
All right, man.
All my money.
I think at that point we're kind of hitting a cap, a limit on before we're just gonna start screaming profanities about this at this. So I want to wrap us up. Any final thoughts on the topics we were talking about? Overwatch with the Face It League World Cup qualifiers, Esport World Cup coming up. We were talking about Frag Punk and Arena Shooter Watch updates. Maybe we should start a bingo. I think that might be a good thing to design. Let's do Arena Shooter bingo. We were talking about the ban list here. So, like, what are your final thoughts? Anything that you want to walk away with?
The World Cup's gonna be good, right? Let's end it on a happy note. The World Cup is great, as a great move for esports. I hope that it's a good watch overall as an event. I don't have high hopes, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to get a next one, and the next one not being like, I think number 2 is going to be great. That's why I'm excited about it, because like it happened for like skateboarding in the Olympics. Like the first time was like meh, right? And then like number 2 is going to be crazy. It's going to be real crazy this year.
So this
like,
is gonna,
I'm not even joking.
This is gonna break the ice, and then it's gonna ask a lot more questions than answering them, and the next 2 are really going to solve those. I hope it gets that far, because this kind of feels like a big gimmick, but of course we want to see that sustainability, that continuation of these things. So I agree with you. I think Esport World Cups can be a lot of fun to watch. Make sure you're watching it. We'll have a big breakdown with us next week, so watch us as well. You stick around because we've got more information for you. I don't have anything else there, Nan. What do you think? That's good.
I think my kid upstairs broke his leg.
Well, it looks like Daddy Nick is gonna have to go lay the band hammer. But that might also be speaking about Magic the Gathering. Anyway, I think it's a great way to wrap this up. Thanks for joining us on the Esports Meta podcast. Where we are the podcast about North American esports and competitive video games. We're also bringing video game news. If you didn't know that, now you do. You can follow us here on YouTube or Twitch, or, this is where we live stream every Tuesday, the podcast right here at 7 p.m. Eastern. Or if that's not your thing, you're more of a social media or clips kind of guy, check out our YouTube channel or any of our socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. We're out there on the internet, and we'd like to interact with you guys. Nick, thanks for joining me. It was a pleasure talking about this stuff. It went a lot better, and hopefully you're not as mad as you said you were going to be at the beginning.
No, I'm not. I was joking. I'm gonna be done with this. I will not be mad for the rest of the night.
Yeah, we had a good
But
time
yeah.
today, man. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to talking about this stuff again next week. Big one next week, Esports World Cup, big breakdowns here.
Yeah.
All right. All right, thanks for joining us on the Esports Meta podcast. I'm Billy Sims. This is Nick Layton, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.